From bananas baked in hollandaise sauce to canned salmon soggy bread pudding, I've made quite a few disgusting dishes. But nothing prepared me for today's vintage inspiration, which is beef fudge. Let me repeat that. A beef fudge. Made with leftover roast beef, this dessert is making it modern to a whole new level of crazy. This recipe made the internet rounds when Retro Ruth of MidCenturyMenu.com shared it on her Facebook page from one of her vintage cookbooks. Mid-Century Menu is one of my favorite vintage food blogs, and there's a link to it in the description box, so be sure to check it out. Hailing from a 1967 copy of the Paulette Hostess Cookbook written by the wives of the Polled Hereford cattle ranchers, this specific recipe was written by Mrs. Florence E. Wiest of Montana and is described as an elegant way to use up leftover roast beef. So let's take a moment and learn a little bit about the history of beef in the United States. One of the things that made America so popular in the 1800s was the amount of meat and poultry that was so readily available. From bear to deer to turkeys, America was teeming with animals that were ripe for the taking. In Europe, the meat industry was formed in such a way that it funneled straight to the aristocracy and bypassed everyone else. But in America, pretty much everyone could afford to buy meat because it was so plentiful. With that said, beef didn't become a popular food item until the railroad system was built in the second half of the 19th century and the advent of major cities. When people started moving from rural areas to cities, they wanted to continue to eat the inexpensive and plentiful meat that they had become accustomed to. So entrepreneurial cattle ranchers quickly filled the needs by raising more cows, transporting them to Chicago by railroad, where they were processed, then shipped out by refrigerator cars to the rest of the country. If there's one thing Americans like, it's cheap and delicious food. And since the late 1800s, beef has always fit the bill. Now that you know a little bit more about why Americans eat so much beef, we can get started on making the beef fudge. In a heavy-bottomed pot, cook half a pound of butter, 1 large can of evaporated milk, and 4 cups of sugar. Bring it to a boil for 5 minutes, stirring often. You don't want your mixture to burn. Remove from heat and stir in 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips and 2 cups of marshmallow fluff until melted. Next, stir in 1 cup of ground leftover roast beef, 1 cup of chopped walnuts, and 2 teaspoons vanilla. Stir until firm and then pour into an 8x13 pan that has been lined with parchment or tin foil. Let it cool completely and then serve. Okay, time to try it. It's freaking delicious. This is some of the best fudge I have ever had. The base is really, really sweet. 4 cups of sugar, hello. So the beef gives it sort of, this extra layer of flavor that I wasn't expecting. I thought it was gonna be like steak dipped in chocolate, and it's not. And then I really like the walnuts because they do add that texture that I love in fudge. Who knew beef fudge could be so delicious? I am shocked. But now that I think about it, bacon's been all the rage for years now and is popping up in sweet dishes like donuts and brownies. So the idea of meat and chocolate isn't completely bizarre. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna make it modern by substituting the leftover roast beef for a bourbon and pecan candied bacon that I'm then going to crumble and add to a fudge base. Begin by preheating your oven to 375 degrees. Next, cut a pound of thick-cut bacon in half and lay the strips on top of a baking rack. Then, set the rack on top of a baking tray lined with tinfoil. Brush the bacon with some bourbon and set aside. In a food processor, combine half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of pecans, 1 teaspoon kosher salt, and 1/8 teaspoon dried chipotle or cayenne pepper. Pulse a few times so the pecans are chopped fine, and then add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Top the bacon with the pecan mixture, making sure to use it all up. Place in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes until it is quite dark but not burnt. You want to make sure not to undercook the bacon because it won't crisp up when cooled. Let the bacon cool completely. At this point, you can serve it as an amuse-bouche with the classic old-fashioned, or you could continue on and add it to the fudge base from the vintage recipe. Now for my favorite part. What can I say? It's delicious. There really is nothing better than candied bacon. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And to add it to fudge, it's a little bit of genius, if I do say so myself. The smokiness from the bacon with the smokiness from the bourbon work perfectly together. And then you've got the combination of textures from the crumbled bacon, and then of course the toasted pecans. Perfection. Introducing meat into chocolate fudge might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually a classic addition that can be made modern with a little bourbon and bacon. If you liked any of the home goods in today's video, you can find them at my online store, retrodepot.co. Just click the link in the description box below. Beef fudge, take 1. Beef has always fit the bill, right? Okay. Fit the bowl. That's gonna be in there, I know it will. Wow, I don't like it. Okay. Amazing.
The hell was that?
Fast forwarding. Stop, now I've got the giggles. Okay. I had 1 sip of bourbon. 1. Woo!